The consortium, I would say, is probably one of the secret attributes of going to school at Claremont McKenna. If you're looking for extremely relaxed atmosphere, CMC is definitely not the place for that. Someone named us one of the happiest colleges in America.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Spill the Tea with CC, where we get insider insights from students who've walked the talk. Today we're very excited to learn about Claremont McKenna College, a small private liberal arts college in sunny Southern California, specifically Claremont, California. If you're interested in applying to CMC or any of the other liberal arts colleges, be sure to hit subscribe to see us spill more tea on all colleges around the US and around the world. Today, we are honored to have our guest, Naveen, with us. Naveen, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Naveen. I studied economics and computer science at Claremont McKenna. Graduated in 2020, so it was the year COVID hit. So a very memorable graduation year. Had an amazing experience at CMC, and I'm here now to talk further about it.
Awesome. So before I jump into specific questions about CMC, can you tell us why you chose Claremont McKenna?
I chose Claremont McKenna because of two reasons. Number one is the solid liberal arts education the school gives. Specifically, you can take a variety of different classes such as philosophy, religious studies, writing, math, etc. in a very intimate setting. So you get to know your classmates very well. Average class size around, say, 11 or 12 that I had for especially the different general classes we used to have. That really allows someone to learn, I'd say, in depth. You really become a community with your class. So that was one reason. Second reason was the emphasis on professional opportunities. So liberal arts schools I had seen, sometimes they highlighted certain professional opportunities, sometimes they didn't. Specifically CMC, it was very clear. From the get-go, the career support was very high.
Yeah, that's very cool. We'll dig into that further. How would you describe your sort of perception of the academic journey that you took there?
Best way to describe it is building blocks. So first year, you take some foundational classes. Specifically there, we have a freshman humanities and freshman writing seminar. Just kind of get to know how the thinking for a liberal arts school works.
Yeah.
Whether it be writing assignments or reading, it could be different than secondary schools, no matter where you come from. So that got me used to the rigor of CMC. And specifically, you can take different foundational classes within your majors. So for example, I was an economics major. So I did the foundational economics classes where you learn about the basics, supply, demand, etc. Then once you get into second year, that's where a lot of students start to pursue more advanced classes. So they start taking electives if they're very ahead in their major, or try to finish up their breadth requirements. Third and fourth year is where academically students usually pursue very individual studies within their academics. For example, my specific study was pursuing and for economics, if you're interested in watching a movie and making movies, how do you maximize the revenue behind it? So I took enough economics classes, including electives, by my junior year. Senior year, we all have to write a senior thesis. So that's a fundamental requirement for any CMC, any Claremont student. And I was able to write my paper on that topic because of the classes I'd taken before in my economics major. Similarly with computer science. So that's kind of the academic
Very
journey.
interesting. So I think as with many liberal arts colleges, Claremont has the holistic, well-rounded breadth combined with the specialization and the depth of going into a senior thesis by the end. So you're able to have a well-rounded view of things, but also have specialized expertise in your specific discipline. Correct? Okay, very nice. So what is the Athenaeum?
The Athenaeum, it's a gathering place where students can come into a specific room within the campus. Speakers give talks on various subjects. One of my favorite talks, for example, was actually by one of our professors. This was after the 2016 election. So when Trump won, we kind of analyzed the maps of the United States. So geographically, who was winning more, which political party, in a sense, was winning more. I just kind of analyzed that as a community. Otherwise, there could be other events in the Athenaeum. So one time they had an event called Senior Soiree. So for fourth year students, you get to walk in, sample different types of wine.
Oh.
Yeah. So Athenaeum was a very multifaceted space within CMC, very much one of the heart of the school. So that's something that I recommend every student, if they want to explore, please go to Athenaeum.
Awesome. And finally, on the academic front, what is your favorite or most memorable class that you took at CMC?
So I'd say my favorite class is Government 20. So it's intro government class by Professor Seals. So this was my first year of Claremont. That class exemplified what I thought was a very well-run Claremont McKenna breadth requirement class.
I see.
So since I had come in, I didn't major in government, but I did like government on my own. So I was able to contribute in the class, maximize the community aspect because we have very intimate discussions about, let's say, politics, especially in post-2016. So this is where the political party system was starting to be very clear for everybody, how like certain candidates, it could be in elections in general, leverage those systems in either American elections or other types of races. So I was able to learn about fundamentals of American government, apply to a very specific real world context in that class, and also just get to know the professor. So at the end, the professor took us out for food and drinks in nearby Claremont, very small town. So kind of able to enjoy just communicate with their classmates. Yeah.
That's a very unique aspect of the Claremont schools, which is just small class sizes, the intimate relationships you build with your professors and your classmates, and in general, the kind of shared community feeling that you build together. So now let's move on to life outside the classroom, beyond the walls. What kind of extracurriculars did you get involved in on campus, and how did you benefit from the campus life in general?
There were two activities I did. One was College Programming Board, otherwise known as CPB within campus. So at CPB, we put on different events for students. It could be, let's say, a Valentine's Day event. So we had like different balloons with hearts. Sometimes it was themed parties. If we had something on the weekend, then we had like a mental health awareness setup where people could like have therapy balls near with them, etc. That was very cool to get involved in. A second involvement was actually beginning ballroom dance. This was through Pomona, which is a sister college of Claremont. Going to that extracurricular off campus allowed me to mingle with other Claremont students, get to do a new activity, and I really kind of put myself out there in terms of doing something different than I would have done maybe in a different setting.
Yeah.
Made some good friends through that. That's an example of taking advantage of the other campuses whenever it makes sense for someone.
Right.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit more about the consortium?
The consortium, I would say, is probably one of the secret attributes of going to school at Claremont McKenna. So whether it be Claremont McKenna or Pomona, any of their schools, the consortium has 5 total liberal arts colleges for undergrad and then 1 grad school. So what you can do is take classes from the other colleges, major if there's no offering at your current school. For example, I did that with computer science through Pomona, and then get to know different types of students. The colleges each have a different type of student they attract. So you'll find different walks of life just about 5-minute walk away. So I'd say that's probably the highlight of the consortium and something that I took advantage of when I was there.
That's so great to hear. You mentioned that CMC has a distinctive focus on pre-professional development for its students. So in what ways did it support you in availing opportunities or preparing yourself to get job interviews, placements, stuff like that?
Yeah, so CMC's Career Services allows individuals to participate in mock interviews, get advice when it comes to networking or breaking into certain sectors. So that's step one, because I think as students, we come in, we're surrounded by a lot of newness, especially first year. Maybe you have new classes, new friends. At a place like CMC, Career Services gave me personally a lot of support in that. I took advantage of different internship programs. One was the CMC in Bangalore program. It was funded, fortunately, through one of CMC's alumni. The CMC helped students get placed into different corporations in Bangalore, India. So capitalizing on that was something that I wanted to do because I come from Indian American background. So I wanted to get an experience like overseas in my ancestral country. CMC facilitated the whole interview process, helped guide through the logistics of traveling basically over 12 hours away from California, and provided a safety net for people from abroad. So if you had any issues, whether it be in that program or any other program abroad, CMC will help. Both logistically, any government things like connecting in terms of emergency, etc. That was good. One other program I took advantage of was Silicon Valley program. So that's where I first got a serious break in my career. The Silicon Valley program allows people to go from CMC, which is a very small campus in Southern California, and intern in Silicon Valley, specifically living in specific apartment building within the heart of Bay Area, and otherwise work at different tech companies, depending on what the internship is, could be in person, hybrid, etc., while taking class on the side. That experience is very hard to get almost anywhere else without having to go through a lot of hoops.
Yeah.
I actually got hired by a CMC alumni.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that's really interesting. Seems like that could be a major advantage of being a CMC student, really opening up doors through its alumni network and through the programs that it established there. Now coming to student life in general, I want to know, what is it like going to school in that location? And can you describe a little bit about the CMC student body?
Going to school in that location really shapes the student experience.
Really?
Southern California, in terms of stereotypically, is very much correct to say that there's sunny weather, usually year-round. Summers can get up to 100 degrees in Claremont, and then winters it probably the high is 60, 70 degrees.
Oh, wow.
And this is all in Fahrenheit.
Right.
So it's very rare that you're going to see anything other than hot weather. Because of that, the type of student that it attracts is very outdoorsy.
Mm-hmm.
People like to hike, maybe go to the beach sometimes if they can. Otherwise, in terms of traits, students are very social. So maybe they have different extracurricular involvements. They like to go out. So if there's on-campus events or any parties, etc., people usually take advantage of that. Sometimes people will go to LA. So I think that kind of mindset is very, very specific to CMC.
Okay.
Because of that, someone I think named us one of the happiest colleges in America. I think because of that feeling. I think that being said, there's definitely work hard, play hard aspect when it comes to student life. So you have people that work hard, very focused on their classes, maybe their involvements, and then maybe they go out on the weekends, enjoy time. So I think that's something to keep in mind when it comes to student life. If you're looking for an extremely relaxed atmosphere, entirely, CMC is definitely not the place for that.
Yeah, I mean, given how selective, given how competitive the college is, I would expect that all the students there are high achievers, are very focused on pursuing their objectives. And it's also interesting you mentioned, Claremont's a small town with some access to LA, right? So you get the benefit of being in a smaller town, you're not in a big city, but you do have access to the opportunities of course, LA, San Diego maybe, and Silicon Valley, a couple hours up north.
Correct.
Yeah. Are there any stereotypes about CMC students that you feel are not true or that are true, or have you heard anything like that?
Yeah, so I think stereotypically, CMC students are the work hard, play hard, as I described.
Mm-hmm.
That can be true in some cases, the typical day at CMC will be like that. I think to demystify some of the stereotypes, I think it very much is up to you as to how much you want to participate in that type of vibe. And the reason I say that is because not every person will want to do that if they're at Claremont, and that's completely fair. So the school is very respectful of that. There's different maybe parts of campus, could be, let's say, residence halls, especially catering towards students that don't could be going out, etc. There are spaces where you can be more indoorsy. Playing video games, let's say on a Saturday night, is the most acceptable plan.
Mm-hmm.
So you have those communities where you might be going hiking on Saturday, and that's the type of vibe you would think that CMC has.
You kind of make your own experience.
Exactly.
Awesome. So you went to high school in California, so not too far from home, but is there something, looking back, any advice you would give yourself?
A couple of advices. I think number one is know your priorities. I'd say that's one advice I give to every student. So specifically if you're applying to, let's say, a school like CMC, you want to go for the liberal arts education. You want to participate in certain majors that CMC is known for. Could be government, in my case, it's economics, etc. So being clear on that before you apply, and even before you accept, can help you have clarity, stay focused on what you stay focused on, because college is a brand new experience. Especially away from school, you may be away from family, so that could be something to keep in mind. I think second is being aware of what you're trying out. So if you're trying out, could be a new activity, could be maybe a new outing with a new group of people. That's something to know, because you may expect certain outcomes, which it may end up being something different.
Mm-hmm.
College is a great time, especially undergraduate, great time, at least for me. It was to kind of explore different interests. I did hang out with different types of people, and Claremont, being the school that it is, has a very secure environment of being on where it is in a small town. So was able to kind of explore that, but it was also very focused on what I knew I needed to stay focused on. So that helped me maximize the experience.
I gotcha. Thank you so much. Now, finally, after watching this entire episode, if a student has decided that they're really interested in CMC and they would really love to get in, what do you think CMC admissions officers are looking for in their students? Are there particular standout qualities that students could really highlight to showcase their distinctive fit at this college?
Yeah, so I'd say there are two key aspects that I think CMC, I'd say admissions officers would look for, like, especially compared to other colleges.
Right.
One is leadership. You maybe demonstrate leadership in certain, it could be involvements. Maybe you have a personal example of that. Taking initiative is something that CMC loves, both in admissions and also once you get there. That's the atmosphere the school promotes. And then number 2 is service. So the reason I say this is because I remember very clearly at one CMC alumni gathering last year, the CMC president told all of us, it is never too early to give back. So for me, I'm about 4 years out of graduation. I think about giving back whenever I can, because that type of atmosphere is something that I grown up with, just in terms of service, maybe volunteer, but you're always trying to pay it forward, trying to help others. Sometimes they can go hand in hand with leadership. Yeah. I, for example, like in high school, I was a leader for a local congressional campaign, and the congressman that was running was genuinely trying to help the community in certain ways. So I could see that, and that highlights both traits right there. Yeah. Was able to mention this in my application, and so I'm sure that CMC definitely noticed some of that. Yeah. So leadership and service, that's the 2 qualities I'd recommend for anyone who wants to become a future CMC or to keep in mind.
Yeah, that's so interesting. I think it's really important to consider your dream college's core values and ideals, and make sure that while you're building your profile, you're developing activities that are deeply in line with those ideals and values, right? Because it certainly shows that you are prepared to contribute to that campus and represent the university or the college as an alum, in the long term. So that's definitely something that all students can keep in mind for CMC and for any other colleges that they're looking at. Okay, last juicy question that I have for you, because I've always wondered about this. So there's something called the WAOA, correct?
Oh, the Wilderness Adventure?
Yes.
Adventure trips?
Yeah. So tell us about the infamous or notorious sort of wilderness adventure trips that all Claremont students take.
Yes. Okay. And CMC, the acronym is WOAD. So WOAD trips, so Wilderness Outdoor Adventure. So specifically, those are trips all first years are encouraged to take. I think they're expected to take it. Those trips were very helpful for students to get to know each other, especially when coming into a new part of their life. For me specifically, I took a camping trip to San Diego. Wanted to do that because it was simple enough. I didn't have to think too much about what kind of activities I was doing, and specifically also allowed me to get to know my classmates. So I remember we sat by a campfire, went around, and just introduced ourselves. Maybe talked a little bit about our high school selves. We got very deep. So that adventure really allows you to kind of form bonds with the classmates. And you also get a chance to see how socializing can be in college. A lot of people, including me, we're now full-time adults. Being away from either parents, being away from any family at all, a lot of people were doing that for the first time, including myself. That allowed for sort of like kind of guided social adventure. So by the time once you get onto campus, you have some friends you have. So I call them my womies. Those people I knew for all 4 years. Yeah. So whether you're classmates or friends, we could pick each other out. Gotcha. We knew each other was up to, and I think like that support system can come in handy no matter for anything in the time you're at college. Yeah. So that's
that's so interesting. Like no other college that I've seen does this sort of activity for all freshmen just coming in. Sure. I think it also has to do with the setting, right? Like because the colleges are in this sort of more remote, more wildernessy kind of vibe, like more nature accessibility. So those are all my questions.
Sure.
Thank you so much for opening up and sharing about your CMC experience. I learned so much. I'm sure our audience learned so much.
Sure. No, thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for watching another episode of Spill the Tea with CC. If you enjoyed this episode, do be sure to like it, subscribe, and share this video with any of your friends who might be considering college in California. Before we sign off, let's get one final piece of advice from our distinguished guest.
Be yourself. The admissions process, no matter which college you go to, is a time for self-reflection and also demonstrating your best self. I wish all the best to everybody in applying to college, especially if you want to go to Claremont McKenna.